Sorry about that. The importance of the imagination. How the imagination works. The imagination, like my definition right off the top of my head, is like it's like in a thought or even in action or a way of perceiving something outside of the normal senses. So the imagination, you may not particularly be able to use your senses. You can't see it, smell it. You can't touch it, feel it with your hands. All right? So you can't perceive it with your senses. Okay? Yeah, so you perceive something, but it's not necessarily through your senses. Does that make sense? So, the imagination, you're going to talk about manifesting. Like manifesting is done and can be done through your imagination. So now I'm thinking of okay. So the imagination, because I always thought like it was like six senses. So for me, I feel like I could add on another sense, like an unknown senses. And the unknown senses would be your imagination. Yeah. So what would stop someone from manifesting or utilizing, well equipping the seventh sense? I guess that would be eight senses, because it's seven. I think that's seven sense, like a knowing. The imagination will go with a knowing, but it's not just a knowing though. It's like forming the thing that you know. Like the ability to conjure up a certain thing that you can't necessarily see with the naked eye. You can't feel it. You can't smell it. But it's able to be formed within your thought process. You have formed it. You have made it actual in your thought process. Yeah. So then it has become a reality. So I think that's right there where manifestation comes in. Manifestation comes in when you allow your imagination, your formed, your conjured up thoughts to become a form of reality to self. Okay? Because this reality does not have to be reality to someone else. So, let's say you want to discuss to someone things that you have conjured up in your mind to be so. Like, you're not able to show them. Like, I can't show you what I have conjured up. Like, I can show you this dolphin. Isn't this dolphin pretty? So I can show you this. But something I have conjured up in my mind, I can't show it to you. I can't make you see it how I see it. And because another person can't see it, can't sense it, does it make that thing not true? So after you get past the 5, I'll say normal, because most of us, we want to be and remain normal. Anything outside of what normal would be, it makes us feel a certain type of way. It makes us feel funny. So what I'm saying, the minute we step out and we start looking or feeling vulnerability or not normal, we step back into the box, into what we have formed, and into what we have viewed as normal. We step back in. The minute we feel that uncomfortableness, we step back into the little box to make sure that we're feeling normal. So that's dealing with the five senses, normal. So if you're not capable, if you're not desiring to, if being abnormal, weird, peculiar, if that makes you feel so funny that it stops you, then you will probably never be able to tap into other senses other than the five normal, regular. And there's nothing wrong with regular. There's nothing wrong with being a regular person. Yeah. It's regular for most people to have the five senses. It's regular. But to step into the other senses of seeing, perceiving things outside of the normal parameters of the five regular senses, you're able to perceive those things as fact, as reality. And everyone's not capable of that. Everyone have not acquired that ability. Right? So, imagination, like, I feel like, first of all, you have to believe in some form of magic. So, that's a word, like I feel like we should be, because we are really big on words. Like, there's a certain word you can throw out there, and for you, it's like, okay, word association. I say the word magic, put into the comments. I would like you guys to do that. This is like some good interaction. I would love you guys' opinion. In the comments, when I say the word magic, what do you think of? What comes to your mind? What's the first thing that pops into your head? How do you relate to the word magic? Right? So I feel like a lot of the times the word magic is given a negative undertone. It's looked at as something bad, negative, devilish. So you don't have to do anything. I suggest for you to perceive it, to attempt to perceive it from another perspective, the word magic. So it said something like, paraphrasing, in the beginning, the earth was void. Yeah, the earth was, let's say without void, the earth was void. And the next thing was, God wanted it to be light. So now at that moment when he wanted it to be something that was not there. It wasn't there. Light wasn't there. It was void. So he wanted there to be light. Now I feel like right there, that's imagination. He perceived something that his senses were not yet picking up on. He couldn't touch or feel anything outside of what was there, which was void. But his imagination perceived something that he would he would relate to it. He would call it light. Imagination. Then he used the power of his, not just his thoughts, that senses of thoughts, of imagination. He used his words. Words are important. Speaking out, putting it into the air is important. So all of this is probably another video, trying to stay on task. So even this right here, what is going on and what is taking place is chemicals. A mixing of chemicals. Okay, we'll say gasless chemicals, because this chemical, you can't see it, you can't touch it, so it's gasless. The thought of imagination and the speaking of words are both, let's just refer to them as a gas. You have two different gases, and as you combine them together, thought, speaking it out, is causing a chemical reaction into the air. So he went from void to thought to speaking. Let there be light. and out from his imagination came, ta-da, light. So, okay, right there, it's like, yeah, God can do anything, you know. Yeah, God did that. Yeah, God performed miracles, and yeah, you know, that's God. So at the beginning it was void, and then there was light, and at some point God began to create heavens and earth, and then man, from man, woman, right? So what is the common denominator? Like, where did all of that? We're gonna back up. We just went forward, ended up with the creation of man. And now if we go back to the source, what is the source? The source is light. That's where everything began. The creation from the imagination, the creation of light. From light, he created the heavens and the earth. We're no longer void. He created the heavens and the earth. From light, the heavens and the earth, and then man. From light. So all of this is a form of magic. So we're created from light, the magic of light. So do we now lack the ability to be the light that we are and to perform magic from our imagination? To bring things that's out of our mind, out of our mouth, into existence. Yes. So whatever you perceive in your mind, that's what it is. Whatever a man thinketh, so is he. Okay? Something else. Okay. This is kind of where all of this derived from, you guys. And I did this over a year ago. I kind of did some researching on this, and I just got to thinking. So it's gonna get a little weird, you guys. Yeah. Yeah, the mind creates. So you have to be very sure of your mind and what you're creating. Keep you. Okay. So let's talk about perception. Your matter of perception. So this is where even the imagination and everything can be good or bad, can hurt or harm you. So again, you must be very mindful of your thoughts because it can affect the way you perceive things. So I began to think about the movie Castaway. So Castaway with Tom Hanks, old movie, and in the movie he was out stranded out on like a deserted island. And within a certain amount of time, I don't know the timing, but he was started to be out there for a little while. Sure, he was becoming dehydrated and a little malnourished. So his perception began to be a little. I say a little, but it began to be. It was some. Let's just say it was at least some friction, because he was not being nourished. He was not drinking water. He was out there alone. So And what he did was he began to perceive things that was not there. He began to perceive and make ideas and make certain things into a reality that to someone else was not true or was not reasonable to assume. So in comes his friend. I guess that was his bestie. That became his companion. Wilson. Okay? Wilson was a ball. I think a soccer ball. Wilson was a soccer ball. From my perception, Wilson was a soccer ball. Was it a basketball? But from But from the guy's perception, Wilson was his friend. Listen, what could not be done is to try at that point to make that man think or to tell him that Wilson was a ball. For him, Wilson was not a ball. Wilson was his companion. That's what he allowed his imagination to form. He allowed his imagination to form that perception, making it his reality. And yeah, someone could tell him, that's not realistic, that's not real, that's a ball. But really, from his standpoint, he's not wrong. The person that's, me saying that to him, I'm wrong. My perception is off. Do you understand what I'm saying? They say you're not in touch with reality. Sometimes that's good. Sometimes that might not be too good. That was good for him then, because I feel like Wilson is what kept him going and kept him motivated. So for him to have that ability to use his imagination, it probably saved his life. It kept him alive. And then there's certain things, and that's just how wild, they say you have a wild imagination. That's how wild the imagination can get. I don't think about the Bible, it says something about to cast down imaginations. Yeah. That imagination can get you in trouble. You know what I'm saying? That polarity, that there's the good side and a bad side to everything. So just want to be very careful as well when utilizing the senses of your imagination. It's like, yeah, it becomes a thin line. It begins to be, it could be very tricky. Like, which perception of Wilson was true? That he was a baller, that he was his companion, that he could talk to and spend time with? Which perception was true? And a part of me would say, well, that's a ball. What you mean, what perception is true? That's a ball. But one might say, from their perception, that was their companion. So only self have the ability to perceive certain things as true or not, as accurate, as reasonable, as realistic. Only self can do that. Yes. Yeah. Power of a made-up mind. Our perception shapes reality. Our perception shapes reality. Been doing that a lot recently. So like, snap out of it. Snap out of it. Snap out of it. Snap out of it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Believing in the invisible. It's real tricky. Thank you, Lord. Okay. I just really wanted to talk and discuss that. Yeah. Yeah, about the imagination. Just know, guys, that we have been fearfully and wonderfully made. We're unlimited, okay? We come from light, a divine source, which we call God. All right? We are not separated from Him. He is not outside of us. We have been created from Him. From it, from her. So we are another version or interpretation of God. Okay? It's definitely time to go deeper. Okay? We're going to go deeper. Make sure, please, hit the subscribe button, the like button as well. Share my videos on all your platform. I do appreciate all of the support, okay? Thank you. And I cannot leave without sending you guys love and light.